Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and this is Monday. It's June the 30th. This will be our chart lesson for today. And as we go into the holiday season, or I guess you should say the July 4th holiday weekend, um, this may be all we get this week. Just not much happening today. It's obvious that there's no volume today. We've had a little movement after the open, and pretty much just a range. But really, since I would say since we made this high about 10:30, uh, we've only made a dozen bars and prices haven't gone more than a point in either direction, a couple of points maybe. So we had about a 2 point range early this morning. We had a little failed break lower. We got back in the range and we had a failed break out the upper side. We tested that low again, and generally when you test this low right here again, and it holds and we go higher, we generally make a new high for the day. But that hasn't happened yet. There's just nothing going on. There's no volume in here at all. There's no reason to try to trade this. So it doesn't mean that we won't break out of here in a minute and just take off like a rocket. But don't try to trade this stuff. You're asking for trouble. So, but the market will. This is going to be a short week because the market really closes, I believe, at noon on Thursday and won't open again. I may trade for a couple hours on Friday, but don't try to trade that stuff either, because that's what you will see for the most part is a little tight range like this right here or something crazy. But for all intents and purposes, most of your traders are probably taking the whole week off. I'm going to trade through Wednesday, and I may come in and trade Thursday too. Um, First couple of hours just to see what happens, but we'll just kind of play it by day. But there may not be if I don't trade Thursday, there may not be a chart lesson on Thursday. Definitely not one on Friday, and we'll be back to do it on Monday because I'll be taking the long weekend for sure by taking Friday off. But I may come in and try to trade some Thursday. So, but just in case there's no chart lesson on Thursday, you will know why. The market does close early. I forget what time. I believe it's at noon Central Standard Time, noon at 12:15, something like that. So just be aware of that. And don't forget about the early close and enter a trade at 12:10 and find out you got 5 minutes till you get kicked out. But let's talk about the trades that I did see today. Not a whole lot of them. This is going to be a real simple chart lesson, and I'm guessing the rest of the week is going to be like this. But you never know. Sometimes you'll get, when you least expect it, you'll get some good movement. So you never write this market off, but it's just obvious there's no volume here today. And we're flirting around with these all-time highs up here again. This market just keeps creeping higher and probably will continue to do so, I'm guessing. But anyway, let's just talk about the few quick trades and then we'll wrap this thing up. The first trade I saw was this was a little bit early. If you were here and you saw this little failed break lower with that big reversal bar, just take that trade long. I mean, that was a great setup. It's a little bit early. I wasn't trading yet, so but if I'd have been here, I'd have certainly taken that. You can just about bank on that coming back to the EMA and probably coming back inside the range, or at least coming back to test the lows. So, and that's rejection right there off that low. And we've never gotten anywhere close to that again today. We couldn't get back below this 1951 anymore the rest of the day. So, um, but the next trade, this is just a little two-legged pullback to retest the back inside the range again, and you can see prices hold. You got a little tiny bar. It's a real low risk entry. And notice this one leg down, the little correction, and the second leg down, and so on a smaller level, this is two equal measured legs. On a smaller level, it's a second entry long on bounce off support, bounce off a possible trend line, because I drew this line off here and you drag it down and that's exactly where it bounces. So you could have had this line this trend line in place before prices even got here. And people will tell you, you can't you can't do this till after the fact, but don't believe that, because you can. and it's real simple to draw this line off these highs. And you might have had to adjust it a little bit or whatever, and then just drag it down. And when prices bounce there, you know you got something going on. And this one was real tempting not to take here, I'll be honest with you. Um, but look how strong that resistance is, and prices have never closed above it or even ticked more than one tick above it. So you just can't go long right there. Um, and if this thing would have rocketed on through and pulled back and tested it and given you that trade, yeah, maybe, but not the way it did it here. You got to wait till it gets outside and comes back, and you don't want to be going short in here and you really don't want to go long in here anymore. That's the reason I didn't mark any more trades. Um, there's a failed second entry short here, but you got to get long right there off of that strong resistance. There's just not room, and that's the reason I didn't like any of these trades across. I think you just have to wait, and then you get the little breakout pullback. And notice this is a new low. It's lower than this one. It's kind of lower than that little swing right there. And so you get a first entry short, pullback. It's a failed second entry short. I like going long there. You might have gotten shaken out of this one. And I went back and forth whether or not to make that one green or red, but it's probably, if you're not real skilled at looking at the chart, you may not have seen that. You may not have noticed that that's a failed second entry short. It's also a breakout pullback long. There's a couple different reasons to like that trade, but as you can see, it got hung up here, and so you might have gotten shaken out of that, and just only to watch it go, and would have been a good trade. But I don't think you can go long anywhere up here because you've got this little channel working up. You got the break. Now you got a new high. And this is a second entry long here, but it's coming out of all this congestion. You see it didn't go very far before it turned down. And you don't want to go short. Once you get into all this, this should be, I should have this circled in just go up here and circle all this and make this one the lavender color, because you just can't go long or short out of it, because when it's probably going to snap back. If you were going to go short, you got to take it right here, because it's like a breakout pullback short. But even then, I don't think you want to go short into that EMA like that. Wait on it to get below and then come back. And then now it's basically a failed second entry short right there, or long, I'm sorry. It didn't really tick higher here. But you can see it comes back, it tries to go higher, pulls back, and you're looking for pricing. That's right off that trend line. You got 2 or 3 touches, and this kind of confirms it. So if you want to go short there, I kind of like that one. And it comes on down pretty quickly and bounces right off of this low. This trade, I meant to make this one green, and I forgot to change it. So let's go back and make this one green. Because and I'll explain why I didn't like it as a red. I just like it as green, because you're so close to these lows. There's not a lot of room there, and you may not have gotten out of this trade. I think it's a 4-tick failure based on a stop. If you entered on a stop, if you entered on a limit order, you probably got out of this one. But you got to be careful going short, and I keep telling people this, especially short into support. There's been a few days where it rockets on through, but most days it either bounces right there or it breaks through and fails real quick and reverses. So I just think it's really risky. And if you didn't get out if you entered on a stop right there and didn't get out, when this bar ended as a little bitty doji and couldn't break below that one, that's a good idea. Take what this thing will give you and live, and move on, wait for another setup, which of course there never has been another setup. You could have looked at this as a second entry long right here, because prices did correct back a little bit. So you might have looked at that as a second entry long, but you're getting long right at those highs again, and it's been holding again, and there's a good chance that it doesn't get through there. And what it turns out, this is like a little 2-tiered range, and you've got a little overshoot on both sides. But if you measure these two, it's a perfectly equal 2-tiered trading range, and I'm guessing we'll end up here. You see, we still haven't gone anywhere since we started this video. So I don't think you want to go long off this. If you'd have gone long right in here, you might have gotten out. But it's obvious by this time that there's just not much volume, not much going on, and so I didn't see any other trades worth marking. So you only had two sure things the whole day, and the rest of it were iffy. There's just not much happening today. So if you didn't trade today, if you didn't see a trade today, don't feel bad. You did the right thing by not taking a trade, because you're better off not taking a trade than getting hung up in this mess and ending up with a loss, or having to sit around all day fighting it, and just it's frustrating, and it'll work on you mentally with your trading and cause you to make a mistake. So if you're one of the ones that sent me an email and says, "Hey, I just hadn't found a trade today," then don't sweat it, because there just weren't many trades. And there's some more. I mean, there was an aggressive long right here. I probably should mark that one too. I mean, that's an aggressive long, but a lot of traders are going to take that long right there. And there's really another aggressive long right there. I don't really like it. And there's really one right there too. So if you want to be real aggressive, there's some other trades in here. I'll go ahead and mark them. That's aggressive long, aggressive short, aggressive long. And but they're not trades that we want to take on a regular basis. So not trades you probably want to take today, because guess what? If you make a mistake and have a loser on a day like today, you may not can make it back. You may not get a chance to make it back. Simple as that. So these are the worst kind of days to make mistakes on. So if you're not good at trading range days, and if the range is so tight there's not even really any real movement in it, then you're better off probably just close up and call it a day, rather than make that mistake and get hung up in a mistake-riddled day. But that's really all there is. There's not much more to say about today than that. And we finally broke up and touched that previous high. We'll see if we get on through there. It wouldn't surprise me if we don't make a measured leg up like this one, but it wouldn't surprise me either if we don't turn back down and just sit here and chop around in this stuff. So it's just not worth taking a risk on, in my personal opinion. I hung around and watched it for a while, hoping that maybe it would pick back up, but it just never did. And so that's the way it goes sometimes. And you can't be mad at yourself if you don't find a trade on a day like this, because there's just not any trades. And really, this should be same thing right here. You don't want to trade out of that mess. So, but anyway, that's what I saw today. Not much of anything. Really depressing, to be honest, but it does this in holiday weekends. And we could get to Wednesday and have the rally or sell off of the century. And then, but who knows? The odds are there's just not much going to happen this week. Most people are on vacation. The market's already a little bit thin on volume lately. So a lot of reasons, if you want, just go enjoy the holiday and take off. The only reason I'm going to trade through Wednesday myself is because I was off all last week, and I'll be leaving for Brazil for a week at the end of July. So, but I am going to take off Friday and have a long weekend and spend it with my family. So, but if you decide, there's nothing wrong with just taking this whole week off, because there's likely not much going to happen. So, but anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm just mumbling here. There's not much to talk about today. We'll be back to do it again tomorrow. Maybe it'll be a little better. Maybe it won't. So, but I'll be back to do a chart lesson all the same. And I may do it early if it's looking like this during the early morning. I may go ahead and do a quick chart lesson and wrap it up and call it a day myself. So, but we'll be back anyway. I'll see you tomorrow. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and I'll see you next time.